I want to use two quotes that I think speak volumes to a country that is in a very, 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 very dark place. This past 2 weeks, it's been really hard to be an American. And I know people can be like, Richard, that's such an anti-American thing to say. But in real honesty, I mean, I'm honest with you guys always, right? There's two quotes. One is from Jesse Ventura. And he says, you can't put civil rights on the ballot. And the second quote is from Andrew Young. Civil rights leaders are involved in helping poor people. And that is what I've been doing my whole life. And there's a third from Sammy Davis Jr. The civil rights movement wasn't easy for anybody. Now, here, let me put these two things together. So Jesse Ventura, and I think I want to take his quote out of context a little bit. I think he's right, because I think civil rights is a state of being. Believing that everybody deserves a civil right is a state of being. You can't legislate that. You have to change hearts and minds for that to happen. And that's what I think that these peaceful protests are beginning to do. They're beginning to change hearts and minds. There's those that believe in civil rights where they sit on the fence and like, oh, well, it's not really my issue. I think both these cases and this sort of level of, constant, consistent pressure and agitation has caused a lot of those people to rethink their thoughts. Right? And I think, like Sammy Davis Jr. says, it's not supposed to be easy. The civil rights was easy on anybody. Now, the question we have to ask ourselves, for those folks who live in the elite class, quote unquote, those people who, are in their, Times Square apartment or their Madison Avenue condo, how offended do you have to get to believe we need change in this country? In the late 50s, right, when television started to be commonplace in homes, people in the North and, the well-to-do, those, policymakers sat and watched on television as African Americans met with hoses and dogs and whatnot. The question now we have to ask ourselves is, in this new day and age where African Americans are met with death by police officers and tear gas and over-militarization, and yet they still protest, how offended must we get this time around to make real and true and lasting change in this country? How offended do we have to be? What else do we have to see on the television screen to realize that civil rights wasn't easy on anybody, and that you can't say, well, there's an African American president, he was on the ballot, and that means we're in a post-racial society. In the moment tonight, I want everybody to take a moment and to sit back and reflect on your own civil rights, the own rights you have as an American citizen, and ask yourself, are those rights afforded to others? And if they aren't, how can we do everything in our power to make sure that they are?